Welcome to the Smoke and Rope Podcast, episode 38 today, 38 straight weeks. We're all proud of it here. And today we have on our good friend and Michigan marijuana activist legend, Josey Scoggin. Josey, thank you so much for being on today.
Thanks for having me.
I'm excited to get into it. First, let's introduce Kevin over at Truu Cannabis, all decked out in his Lions gear. What's up, Kevin?
Not much, buddy. How you doing?
Good.
Super
Good.
excited. Got my my social equity application approved today from the state. So 35% reduction in my administrative fees. So today's a good day.
Nice. It is. It is. That's what it. I'd like to hear that.
Yeah.
Need more of that. And then Tom Beller over at Real Leaf Solutions, donning his cap hat again. How's it going, Tom?
Things are great, except for the snow. Yes, it's snowing here in Kalkaska. Yeah.
It's beautiful down here.
Yeah.
So cool. So Josey, I want to get just so everyone knows, Josey early on in Michigan marijuana, Josey's pretty legendary. She was the first pediatric patient in the history of the state of Michigan, and I'm looking forward to her talking about that. And then I first became aware of Josey when I got out of prison at the end of 15, and MILegalize was getting going, and they were kicking off, and all of a sudden here's this young girl speaking, traveling the state, and talking, and I was like, who the heck is this? And how is she so good at what she's doing, Josey? I remember thinking you were jamming, you were passionate, you were perfect as far as for everything to help us lead us into legalization, and you carried the torch big time at the beginning of the first MILegalize campaign. That's how I remember you. And in the meantime, like all this has passed. You've stayed active, and you founded Sons and Daughters United, which is awesome. I know I first became aware of that because you first worked with Ashley Duvall to go see her dad, and I was in prison with Jeremy Duvall and real intimate with the case and knew what was all going on, and it was great to see. So now we're here, and the Sons and Daughters United is teaming up with the Redemption Foundation and some great law firms, and we're going to be kicking off the Great Lakes Expungement Network that coincides with the Clean Slate Act. So we're going to ask you about that. But first, Josey, I'll shut up now. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about being the first pediatric patient, why you're such an activist, and why everybody should know about you.
I did pay Ryan to say all those nice things about me, so I'll start there. I got my medical marijuana card when I was 14. It was 2010 when we finally, or 2009 when we finally got it. I remember 2008 when we voted it in. Obviously, I couldn't vote. I was in 8th grade. And we were just flabbergasted. Also, we live on the Indiana state line, so we thought we were going to be smoking brickweed. Like, we had no idea medical marijuana or the oils or anything that was going to happen. And even now, the state makes your parents be your caregiver if you're a minor patient. And so what that means is that my mom, who is also disabled, had to learn how to grow marijuana and also had to learn how to dose it herself. There were, and you'll hear about some dispensaries that were popping up very quickly. I mean, we thought weed was legal, so we were pretty crazy about it. I remember driving out in 2010. It was like snowing out to Ann Arbor to the only dispensary ever, which was Third Coast. And something that consistently I think about is just how far we've come in terms of products. So my mom was making these witchcraft, what we would call witchcraft. She would make lotions and tinctures, and she literally had me eating stems, like literal stems, call the services, right? But at the time, I was coming off of fentanyl suckers. I was in 7th grade when I was diagnosed. My mom had spent about 40% of her life in the hospital. We both had the same disease, but we're the only person in our family that does. My mom was misdiagnosed and given a timestamp of 18 years old. She's told she's never going to have children, and by the time she was 19, she had me. She told the doctors that she could swear that I was disabled, that I was developing weird, that I was stiff, that I was moving differently than the other kids. And the doctors did a blood test and said that I was fine. I continued to play softball and basketball and soccer and things like that for several years until about 7th grade. It was a 2-week process of me not being able to walk. Well, I haven't walked since 2007, which is the worst thing, but it was an extreme process. During that time, I was given fentanyl pops and a lot of other crazy stuff. My mom's reported using medical marijuana since the 90s. Once it became legal, the doctor was like, Josey, do you want to start using medical marijuana? And I was like, God damn it, these guys tested me. I'm going to go to jail. And here in Michigan, you have to have two doctors, which is hard for a lot of us, especially when you're doing something for chronic pain and you don't have cancer. Even more so when it's 2009 and they're, people like Charlotte Fiji hasn't been out and Sanjay Gupta's thing wasn't out yet, and people were really pretty skeptical about my mom. And so he also had already talked to one of my other doctors. They both signed it, and my mom started growing marijuana. I consistently use medical marijuana. I'd say recreationally too now. But medically throughout my pregnancy, and I was trained by ASA in 2010, and I went and did a whole bunch. That's 100% of where all of my opportunities really came from, is working directly with Americans for Safe Access. I'm visibly disabled, and I'm young, so I did fit a lot of the profiles that they needed. We started Sons and Daughters United, and I do talk a lot, so I do apologize about that. When the oil bills came through, and we were protesting the fact that people had to smoke marijuana, they were no longer allowed alternative forms, at least according to the state's court system. And that's where I met Ashley DeWall, and we had worked together to create this prisoner support program. Throughout my work with cannabis within the industry, reform industry as a whole, I've just been really in the right place, and I think that I have a passion for Michigan that really goes unfounded. So me and Ryan are both in the same thing, where Michigan has the best weed, more coastline, we grow more apples. This is the place we want to invest in. We have the best medical marijuana, we have the best recreational marijuana bill in history, and we have a fantastic, close-knit cannabis industry, which is 100% successful, or responsible for the successes we've had. Both for MILegalize and also at Sons and Daughters. Maybe for
Josey, and you get so many more stories you can tell, and I know you've been kind of laying low a little bit, and a lot of the new people in the last 2 years might not know about all that history, so that's why I'm excited that people get to hear about it. But why don't you kick off and talk about the Great Lakes Expungement Network that we're doing, the legal team involved, what it's evolved, and then I know Tom and Kevin, I've got some questions about it after that.
Excited about this. So, I grew up in Benton Harbor, represent, and I have, there's no shortage of criminal injustice around here. There's no shortage of criminal injustice here in the state of Michigan as a whole, regardless of what region you're living in. And things like equal opportunity for housing or employment just aren't acceptable. And so when Ryan and I got together, Ryan had this idea, can you find me an attorney to start doing some expungements in Southwest Michigan? And there's debate on whether or not he said start an entire expungement program, but we did, and what we found is the Great Lakes Expungement Network is more than just Redemption Cannabis and Sons and Daughters United. There's so many people who care about second chances or third chances or fourth chances, or who believe that if you did your time for your crime, then that should be it. And so the barriers of expungement are so high, only about 6.5% of people who are eligible actually get their records expunged within 5 years. of being eligible to do so. Now, a part of that is all of these crazy circles that you have to hop through, but another part is if you call an attorney for an expungement, it's about $2,000, and it's never ever a guarantee, with the exception of some of these new misdemeanor marijuana crimes. So we've contracted some of the best attorneys in the state. Ooh, I'm so excited about it, including Covert Law. And Josh Covert is a man who will travel the world to see justice. Has always been our legal director here at Sons and Daughters United. His mom was a cannabis user as well, and he supports that level of it. I think that it's always been about family and keeping people connected in that way. Josh is going to about, I think, 50 something counties within his firm. What that means is we will go just about anywhere in Michigan. We can connect you with somebody. However, if you're an attorney, you're interested in fair market value for it, hit us up. We can work together. We're some partners in the network as well. And I think something else that I wanted to highlight for Kevin here is you can get your stuff expunged and still be valid and still be eligible for this social equity. So we would like to help with that. I mean, any kind of cannabis injustice or crimes that you have been charged with, we can do that. We can also help with some other stuff. So I guess if Ryan wants to talk.
Well, yeah, I'll let the guys ask some questions on that too, but I got some more stuff to talk about too. Kevin, you have a question?
Well, go ahead, Ryan. If you want to talk about some expungement a little bit more, that's cool. My question's unrelated, so if you guys want to carry on with that, I'm cool with that.
Yeah, well, one of the other attorneys that we work with, and so just so everybody knows, Sons and Daughters United's address is in Lansing and Old Town, and so is mine, same building, and we're both in Covert Law. So for the people out there that have been doing the politics for years in Lansing and have spent some time over here, it's awesome. It's a great place, and I'm really proud to be located on this. And it's not final yet, but we might be moving just down the street into a brand new, beautiful building, and all the people out there that come visit Lansing are really going to enjoy their time with us now. So, exciting news. But besides that, I want to give a shout out to Josh Covert and the law firm. But Barton with us on that, and Barton's involved with a lot of the other things that the Redemption Foundation's doing, and he's always there, and very talented attorney with a great firm, and he never says no when it comes to helping. He always helps. So we're excited about that. But like the big concern is like in Ingham County, we have a great prosecutor here. Is actually going to be on the show in a couple of weeks, Carol Simon. She's not gonna go against you if you were convicted in Ingham County. You're still gonna have to go through the paperwork, and we can help with that. But like, what about Livingston County? That's why I targeted southwestern Michigan at first because it's tough down there with Berrien and Cass and St. Joe and some of those. Those prosecutors don't want to hear that. So we're here to help. So my idea when I called Josey was, like, we need to help those off the bat, and we have some great cannabis companies that want to help out and will pay for this, and we've raised about $20,000 already. It's not going to be an issue when we can say, here's 50 people that need to be expunged. If you give us this much money, you're gonna be able to concrete say and hold it. I just helped 20 people clear their records. That's what I did for my social equity. So really excited about it. We're going to have a little press release next week, and it kicks off April 11th in conjunction with the Clean Slate Act. So anyone that wants to help, we're excited about it. Jamie Lowell is also an advisory member of the Redemption Foundation. He's helping with this project. So people listening to that, you can always contact Jamie as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of attorneys that have piggybacked on the marijuana thing as they transitioned over from being custody attorneys or whatever else they were doing prior to this. It'd be great if we could get all of them on board to do some of the pro bono work that we've got coming in front of us. It's the right thing to do. I think it's great that we're at a point where we can actually start to give people a second chance for something that to me has been so hypocritical over time. I think it's awesome that I was able to get my reduction on the social equity thing. I mean, can you imagine 10 years ago that somebody would be giving you some sort of credit for being a convicted marijuana criminal? So small baby steps. But Josey, I wanted to talk to you a little bit. I remember you from your Senate testimony. I was always there, and I would always see you there. I don't know that we officially ever met while you were giving your testimony, but I wanted to ask you, since we've gotten this legislation passed and things are, on the mend, how has things been for you? Has your accessibility been better? Have you been able to try different products? How's things changed since 2009 for you?
Well, so I have a progressive disease, so I'm consistently getting worse. As Ryan mentioned, I have been pretty absent from the movement. I birthed my daughter 5 years ago now. I don't know if anyone can believe that, but
Congratulations.
thank you. She's fantastic, totally worth it. I did lose about 90% of my range of motion. Consistently been in a wheelchair since then. I also breastfed my daughter for 4 years, so I didn't use any opioids during that time. In terms of my access to medications, I've had a fantastic caregiver for a very long time, and he gave up his caregiver license to start a grow because the state made him. And so that was difficult for me. And I think this is something that we struggled with, everybody struggles with, is finding a good, solid caregiver that can give quality meds. And so that was difficult for me to find that. And now that I do have a really good caregiver, things are very well for me in terms of by managing my mobility in a way that is functional, but also I think that when I go to events or I see somebody's always trying to give me a new product, like trying to heal me, which is great. I'll take whatever you got, but it hasn't happened yet, Kevin. I mean, I did find that with of just new science, I've been eating. Oh God, everybody always makes fun of me for eating like raw diamonds and stuff like that, but I eat like concentrates and not just RSO, because I think RSO tastes like crap and I want some terpenes in my stuff. And so I'm consistently eating it. It's the only thing that makes me sleep. I caregiver for like a year and a half, and so things are really good for me now, physically.
Well, I'm glad things are on the up and up for you. I apologize, on behalf of the entire community for letting you down in those times when you needed things, because we try to be there for everybody, but that it's hard, we're all human, and so I apologize on
No way. No,
our behalf
20% of Americans are disabled. It's impossible to provide for everybody, but also being disabled makes people uncomfortable. Like, sorry to make you. There's not spaces for us to exist, and this might not be the podcast to talk about that. But there's not spaces for us to exist in the legal market. And what I mean by that is, the average person on SSI, if you're born disabled, you don't get to make money into the taxes. Make $784 a month. There's no way they can show up and be a part of these meetings. They don't have the capital, they don't have this, they don't have that. But let's be real. These people that are disabled, whether they be visibly disabled or not, were the stepping stone for recreational marijuana, right? So how many places do you see dispensaries that hire visibly disabled people or non-visibly disabled people? How many businesses do you see? How many people on dating websites do you see? It makes people uncomfortable, and I think that having this conversation also is probably uncomfortable, but apologizing for the market not being there is totally fault. 20% of Americans are disabled, and I think that is a conversation worth having, and also disabled people are at the forefront of drug policy reform all of the time. They use us as a platform, but I don't really see us benefit when it goes and becomes legal in that way.
Yeah, I guess my thing is that I'm anti-pharmaceutical in the sense that we've done a terrible job pushing those onto people when there's other alternatives like marijuana out there. So I'm apologizing on behalf of society that we're in this situation, because it's a bunch of crap. I've done my best. I know Tom has and Ryan has, to take care of as many patients as I can. I've had cancer patients that I've given free medicine to for going on 5 years, and I'll continue to do it as long as I can. Yeah, it wasn't, I just want you to know that we care about you. We know that you have been an integral part of what's going on with marijuana in Michigan. And so, and hearing that you had some struggles, it's not nice to hear. So we want to do better as a society for everyone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I do appreciate that, Kevin. And I'm glad you're a Lions fan and you can be patient, because I really do talk all the time, and I'm super thankful that you're here too.
Well, really, a lot of the issues coming from the regulated market is that our hands are tied in so many ways that we can't. Like a classic example, I don't know if people know that when the testing facility comes and tests a batch, they have to take 0.05% of the batch. So that could be up to, right now that batches are 50 pounds, that could be over 2 ounces. And they don't need that much to test the whole batch. And so they end up with an excess.
True.
And I've had conversations with labs like, hey, how do we start a program that takes the excess from these, from testing, obviously that pass state testing, to donate it to people that can't afford their medicine by going to these provisioning centers, and they can't pay these fees, and to offer that up, and took it all the way to the state, and it was no, you can't do that. And so we're hamstringed on a lot of levels from what kind of assistance we can actually provide, and until we can change things at a state level, then it's up to the caregivers to take care of people. And unfortunately, as we all know, there's a war against caregivers going on that's still happening, unfortunately. And, that's something that needs to be addressed. And us as a regulated business, we are really limited on any type of assistance we can actually do. And it's very difficult coming from a place of compassion. That's why you got into it in the first place, was to provide medicine. And now the door's closed on us to provide that. And it's like, we're a Keith factory, we can provide tons of RSO, and but we can't. So somebody needs to organize, and I know that the caregivers are getting organized too, but to provide a network for people that that don't have access.
Without a doubt. And there is something about talking about that RSO, Tom. Redemption is going to be coming out with strain-specific RSO in about 2 weeks, and in conjunction with Driven Grow, and we're really going to be looking almost as a nonprofit, to where we're going to be able to set where patients can come to certain stores and get that in their area for a penny or something. So I'm going to talk to everyone about that. It's going to be exciting. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of great goers that would want to participate in that. Awesome on that. So Josey, tell me about what got you into MILegalize. That's my first real strong memories of you.
I was elected there, so I don't know if you know that or not, but there was an election.
I know you were elected. Yeah.
And there was my role originally was, I'm at Sons and Daughters United. We're going to talk about the children. That's truly, how can we make a safer, more regulated Michigan for the next generation? And that was really originally my goal. And so I sat down and I had all of these just geniuses. It was really awesome to be a part of this team. And I was setting up the meetings. We didn't have someone to answer the phone calls originally. I was answering all the phone calls, and so every once in a while you'll hear like Colin I'm planting green trees or something saying, or Jazz Cabbage talking about how I called him one day and let's get you involved in cannabis, whatever, and he'll tell this story and it's very flattering for but it was literally my dream job was to just my black friends were being arrested all the time for nothing, and I was like selling them weed, and like I wasn't getting in trouble, but they were being spots. Anyways, and so I had a lot of experience in terms of just connecting with the people in the community, calling them back and getting connected. I was a volunteer coordinator up until I got pregnant. And my pregnancy was very hard on me. I didn't do very well throughout it. I didn't return back to my MILegalize in that role because of it. And so I did, let's see, my first involvement with politics actually sucks so much. I hate talking about this. Was in 2008 when emergency managers were in my city, and participated in a petition campaign to remove emergency managers from the city, and it won. It went to the state. People voted on it. It won, and then the freaking governor said, "No, that's not it, really," and then just passed a law where it was law now. And it was my first involvement with politics on that level, and so it had kind of been Josey versus Schutte or Snyder since then. And so it was kind of also a personal situation for me at that point. There was just a series of things that were happening. My friends were being arrested for no reason, other than they were running cannabis businesses or growing cannabis within state law. People were being harassed over here. So we have all of our media comes from Indiana, which is, I don't know if it's good or not, but what's good for here is good for Indiana policy. And so one of our specific prosecutors, Victor Fritz, is famous for being a part of SAM, and he's a very big anti-marijuana speaker. He donated like a huge chunk of his policy to the anti-marijuana. He does these science things in the library about kids doing drugs. He's just really awful. We were doing a petition campaign in Benton Harbor, which is not even his county, and he did a very terrible, damaging article on it. And it kind of just paved the way. So if you don't know, Rainbow Farms is, and the deaths of Rowley and
Tom.
Still, Vandalia is not really a great place to be in terms of crop-wise. When I left my MILegalize and we did the second time around, I just petitioned. And it's, I lived in the south side of Kalamazoo. I still, if I go to the grocery store, they'll be like, "Hey, are you that girl that made me sign that marijuana?" I very visibly, obviously am. We could go right now and find somebody that would be like, "Hey, that lady registered me to vote." It was a lot of fun. It was the most fun I did was when I did the street team stuff. I'm sorry, I'm a talker. That's the worst quality, right?
No, it's great. It's great for the show. It's great for the show. So what's as far as with the expungement stuff that we're doing, like tell us a little bit about the react. I know we barely have announced it, but tell everyone what's going on and how they can and how can people get connected that are listening. Do we actually have people that are in Jackson prison and different jails now are listening to the show? They reach out to me. It's a pretty cool audience, and then a lot of the people is marijuana businesses. But go ahead and tell us.
Can I just pop in real quick with sons and daughters? If you're watching this and you know anybody that's in jail, or you're in jail, or you have a loved one that you want to be connected to, we pay for that. So we can pay JPay payments. JPay payment is my preferred way to pay you guys. I mean, honestly. We can help with video calls and phone conferencing. If you're set up for traveling in your facility, which a lot aren't, we can do travel expenses as well, and that includes hotels and foods, because we want you guys to stay connected. So sonsanddaughtersunited.org, it is our family connection grant. It is totally open and available. Please apply to it. And then if you've got some old stuff that you want to expunge, let's do it. So As Ryan mentioned earlier, we do have Barton Morris on team, and he is a super smart, super fast attorney. But he's also the guy that's been doing Expungement Week in Michigan. So he is truly the OG, and I'm super on board. And Michigan's weird, and it's really weird because I live way over here. But these three counties, Macomb, Wayne, and Oakland County, account for 40% of the and so it's hard for me or my friends in Ontonagon and the UP to understand 40% of everything is really in that Metro Detroit area. And I know my friends who are from Detroit will be mad that I include Oakland and Macomb in the Metro Detroit area, but that's what it is for everybody else. Also, we're expunging records in Flint. We're expunging records in Grand Rapids. We're doing it in Kalamazoo. We're doing it here in Benton Harbor. We're doing it in Jackson as well. And here's what it looks like. So you'll fill out a paper. It takes about 4 months, what your name is, so I can search you in the database and give it to the attorney so he can make sure. Also, you've got to be truthful about how many out-of-state stuff you have. It costs me a lot of money to run a FBI background check. You can just be honest with we can get it done. And then we'll get you fingerprinted. You do have to go to the sheriff's department to get fingerprinted at least twice a day now. I argue with somebody about, yes, I understand that your fingerprints don't change. Yes, I understand that you did this already. It's just a hoop to jump through. I mean, if it was easy, it wouldn't have been presented by our lawmakers. So you'll go there, $15, get your fingerprints. We pay for that, 100%. We'll pay for that, get it done. You have to make an appointment to do it. Then you just wait. I mean, we'll set up an actual retainer agreement. It'll be just like you hired this guy for $2,000, although we will, cover your fees for it. Aside from that, once you get your expungement, you'll be able to do lots of cool stuff, like legally tell people you were never convicted of this crime. So when I say people, I mean employers, maybe the license bureau, but I don't mean the judge because they can still see that stuff. And so we do have a full list of what does expungement mean, and maybe saying set aside the record, like the state of Michigan does, might make more sense. So it does take it off the public record for people who are searching it, like me, but it won't take it off for people who are searching it, like the correction facility or for certain licensings, like teaching. But what's happening is people have these marijuana charges. Maybe they sold their cousin 3 joints back in '99, and now after school dance because they have a felony or they have a misdemeanor or whatever it is. And the stories are not. Everybody is being arrested and charged with ridiculous things. And one more thing to point out before we move on from here is that if let's say you were charged with usage, but you pled to disturbing the peace, we'll still pay for that. I mean, the whole thing, a lot of people do get 7411s, which is just an expungement. But a lot of people also plead to something else so that they don't lose their license in that for that 6-month period. And if you did that, we will expunge it. There's also about 1,300 new things you can expunge here in the state of Michigan. Shout out to our legislators for really doing what is revolutionary.
So, Josey, what's the timeline look like, Tom?
Same question. All right.
Same question. What's the timeline look like from start to finish? Are we going to be at a point at some point where we can have like a Saturday event where we can get 800 people expunged in a weekend, or is this something where we have to file paperwork and go in front of a judge and set court dates? How does that look?
In a pre-COVID world, we would do a big event and get all of your stuff ready, but you still have to go to a police department and get fingerprinted. So it's not as easy as just doing that. And then you will still have to go to court. So for misdemeanor marijuana crimes, anything that would be legal today, so 2.5 ounces or less, usage, paraphernalia, maybe you had some stems underneath your car seat, and the cop looked in there and got you for it. Improper transport Jesus Christ. If you have an improper transport thing, you can already really get it done. But let's just expunge it here. I have so many friends with that. Um, you can't expunge things like driving while intoxicated, OWI, or anything weird, like no abuse cases, no um, sexual stuff, or something. There are some by expunge. We can talk about that. But to qualify for our program, you must have at least one cannabis charge, because this is cannabis companies that are funding it. Um, we don't know how. What we're waiting for is some new forms. They will really tell us what the timeline looks like. Also, typically on a typical non-COVID situation, it would be about 3 months. So I did put in some testers, and one of them, we put it in at the beginning of March, maybe the last week in February, and not his appointment, his court date is the first week in June. So that's super fast. Also, there's going to be about 1,300 new offenses that you could expunge on the 11th. And so we're expecting courts to get a little jammed up with it.
Yeah, that's great. I was gonna. Sorry, Ryan, I don't mean to interrupt you. That's great. I'm glad we're seeing some of that. I was going to mention that I think I hold the record for the least amount of marijuana ever being charged with, documented at 0.05 grams. So, some of these things, it's like that held me back. In 2009, I tried to buy a FedEx route, and they did a background check on me. And 9.5 years ago, I had a possession of marijuana, and they disqualified me from buying the FedEx route. So, no, glad to see that. I think that it's really going to help people out. So I'm glad you're doing this, Josey, taking the bull by the horns as per usual, and making a charge. So we appreciate it.
We do appreciate it, Josey. That's a great summary, and some of us got some heart outs, and I know we could talk all day. We're super excited. Everybody definitely be listening next week with some announcements. And first, I want to let everybody say goodbye, and any final thoughts? Tom over at Real Leaf, up in the snow.
Well, first, I want to thank you so much for everything that you've done, and keep fighting the good fight. You're an awesome bundle of energy and light. It's great to see people helping other people, and and just putting everything they have into it. I can really appreciate the fact that you're smoking a hog leg right now. That's big joints, just like Ryan likes to roll. And also, when these expungements are finally actually happen on the regular, I know I can speak for quite a few people that we're really looking forward to having a much larger pool of potential employees to bring in, because we cannot, as you know, hire people with prior convictions, and most of those people are probably the most qualified for the jobs that we need done. And it's about time. We can't wait for that to happen. And I keep saying we need to have a network that funnels people towards our door. Once they're expunged and they're looking for a job, we're here.
That's a good idea, actually, Tom. Maybe we can make that part of our deal. I'll talk to Josey about that off camera.
Right.
Yeah, that's awesome, and that's a good point. You're not all rec. You're med and rec, and the med law sucks at that point. The legislators wrote it, so what do you expect? Kevin over at Truu Cannabis. Final thoughts.
Yeah, I just want to kind of echo what Tom said. Josey, we're super appreciative of all the work. I think at the time you may not have known how integral it was for you to be up there testifying at a young age, and it was imperative, and it got us to where we are today. I'm glad that you're continuing to push forward with your advocacy. It's making a big impact, and so congratulations on the progress you're making, and I wish you luck in the future moving forward. So.
Awesome, Kevin. And Josey, any final thoughts for the audience?
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me out here, and I hope that when I come to Kalkaska, that you guys will definitely show me around, because I don't get there very often. And go to our website, apply for our grants. Please get your stuff expunged, get your grandma's stuff expunged, get your kids' stuff expunged. Contact any of us. We are looking for partnerships in this. I know that there are other cannabis companies who want to be a member of this collection of community organizations. cannabis companies, criminal defense that just want to give people a second chance here in the state of Michigan. Also, this is something that's only available here in the state of Michigan. A lot of our grants here at Sons and Daughters are available statewide or nationwide. Um, so thanks for that, and I look forward to coming back.
All right.
It-
Yeah, Josey, we'll go ahead, Kevin.
Oh, I was just going to say, hey, Josey, give us your contact information one last time for the listeners, sonsanddaughtersunited.org, and then what other contact information do you have for expungement?
Yeah, so sonsanddaughtersunited.org is our /expungement will take you straight to our application. We're working on getting a Great Lakes Network, Great Lake Expungement Network website up. You can contact us directly through the website. We're very responsive. Also, Facebook is a great place to send donations. We don't pay any fees for any Facebook donations, so if you wanted to make it your birthday fundraiser, you could. Hey.
There you go. I've got a big push for that. So, all right, Josey, that's awesome. And if anybody else out there that whether you could be an accountant, Michigan and marijuana companies, we seem to carry a lot of the load for society right now with social justice and equity, and that's what it's expected out of us. But that's fine. We'll do it. So you could be any company out there that might hear about it or tell somebody else, and your money will directly go to people's lives getting expunged. That's it. There's no other, we're not doing it for anything else. So besides that, please go to sonsanddaughtersunited.org, reach out to myself, Jamie Lowell, or Josey. If you're a company that wants to give, we can help you out. Barton Morris, Josh Covert, anybody. We want as many partners that we can get, and let's get everybody expunged, and let's get on with it. So with that, awesome show. Really thankful to have you on, Josey, and we'll see everybody next week.